We analyze the body language, the gotcha questions, and the tactics that win unwinnable cases. Welcome to Canal Narration.
You think this is about respect? This is about money. My dad can buy you.
She wishes to tell me in
The afternoon light streams into the Providence Municipal Court. The room is full, a quiet murmur of citizens waiting their turn. Judge Caprio presides with a familiar, patient expression. He listens to a speeding ticket case, offering a payment plan to a nervous mother. This is a courtroom built on compassion, not just correction. Next case, Landon Hale, the bailiff calls out. A young man in a bright red hoodie swaggers to the front. He doesn't remove the AirPod from his ear. He slumps into the chair, already looking annoyed. Officer Torres takes his place nearby, his face impassive. Judge Caprio puts on his glasses and reviews the file. Landon sighs loudly, a dramatic show of impatience. He pulls out his smartphone and begins scrolling. The judge looks up, peering over his glasses. The entire courtroom notices the blatant disrespect. Mr. Hale, good afternoon, the judge begins, his voice even. Landon ignores him, his thumb flicking across the glass screen. Mr. Hale, Judge Caprio repeats, a little firmer. Yeah, what? Landon mutters, not looking up. A few people in the back pews gasp quietly. You have a series of violations here, the judge continues, ignoring the phone for a moment. 4 unpaid speeding tickets, running 2 red lights, and an expired inspection. That's quite a record for 6 months. Landon just scoffs, a small smirk playing on his lips. Can we just get this over with? Son, you have to put the phone away in this courtroom, Judge Caprio instructs. He says it kindly, like a grandfather correcting a mistake. Landon rolls his eyes, a clear act of defiance. I'm busy, just tell me the fine, Landon demands. Officer Torres subtly shifts his weight, his hand moving closer to his belt. The judge's patient demeanor remains, but his eyes narrow slightly. I'm not talking about the fines yet. I'm talking about your attitude. People come in here, they show respect for the court. Landon finally looks up, his eyes full of disdain. Respect? For this place? The air in the courtroom turns cold. The nervous mother from the previous case watches, her eyes wide. The quiet murmur has evaporated into total silence. Judge Caprio slowly folds his hands on the bench. He is giving the young man a chance to retreat. Landon does not take the chance. He leans forward into his microphone. Do you even know who I am? He asks, his voice dripping with privilege. The judge replies calmly, I know you as Landon Hale, a defendant in my court. No, you don't get it, Landon laughs, shaking his head. The judge's kindness is visibly fading, replaced by judicial sternness. What I get is that you are acting in a way that is disruptive and disrespectful. Landon scoffs again, louder this time. You're just some old guy in a robe. This is the moment the entire situation fractures. I'm going to warn you one time, Mr. Hale, the judge says, his voice now steel. You will stop this behavior, or I will hold you in contempt. Landon's arrogance visibly inflates. He seems to enjoy the confrontation, the center of attention. He mistakes the judge's lifelong patience for weakness. Contempt? Landon says, baffled. You can't hold me in contempt. He gestures around the room with a wave of his hand. I'm just being honest. This is a joke. The judge leans back, his face set like stone. This court is not a joke, young man. Landon pushes his chair back, the legs scraping loudly on the floor. He stands up, a direct challenge to the judge's authority. Just tell me the fine so I can pay it and leave. Or should I just have my dad call? Judge Caprio stares, unblinking. Your father has no bearing on this proceeding. Landon fans out a stack of $100 bills from his wallet. That's where you're wrong, old man. The room is now holding its collective breath. Landon throws the money down on the defendant's table. You think this is about respect? He sneers. This is about money. He points a finger directly at the judge. My dad can buy you. It is the sentence that changes everything. The silence is absolute, broken only by the hum of the lights. Officer Torres immediately takes one step forward. Judge Caprio slowly, deliberately removes his glasses. He places them on the bench with a soft click. The judge's eyes, now without the barrier of glass, are cold and powerful. He looks past Landon, making eye contact with Officer Torres. He gives a single, almost imperceptible nod. Landon hasn't even realized what he has just done. He is still smirking, waiting for a response. Mr. Hale? Judge Caprio's voice booms, startling the defendant. You are found in summary contempt of this court. Landon's smirk wavers, confusion replacing his arrogance. I am sentencing you to 30 minutes in the holding cell. What? You can't do that. The fines for your tickets are separate, the judge continues, ignoring the outburst. For the contempt charge, the fine is $500. Landon's face turns from confusion to panic. You can't arrest me. I didn't do anything. Officer Torres is already behind him. Sir, place your hands behind your back. Landon tries to pull away, but the officer is too fast. The sharp, metallic click of the handcuffs echoes through the courtroom. Landon's face is pale, his bravado instantly gone. Officer Torres guides Landon through a heavy steel door behind the courtroom. The door clicks shut with the sound of a vault. The warm, polished wood of the courtroom is instantly gone. It is replaced by sterile, painted cinder block walls. Landon stumbles slightly, his body rigid with shock and anger. They walk down a short, narrow corridor lit by flickering fluorescent bulbs. The officer stops at the first cell, a small, barren room. A single metal bench is bolted to the far wall. The air is cold and smells faintly of bleach and stale sweat. Landon's eyes dart around, looking for a camera, a window, anything. Officer Torres gestures for him to enter. Landon hesitates, his bravado fighting with a new, rising panic. Get in, the officer commands, his voice leaving no room for argument. Landon steps inside, careful not to touch the walls. The officer steps back, his face completely neutral. The heavy cell door slams shut with a deafening clang. The sound of the large key turning in the lock echoes in the small space. Landon is completely, utterly alone. He stands frozen in the middle of the cell. For the first time in his life, his money and his name mean nothing. You can't do this, he yells, his voice cracking. He rushes to the door and pounds on the small, reinforced glass window. Let me out! My father will have your job! His shouts are muffled, absorbed by the thick walls. No one answers. No one is even in the hallway. He leans his forehead against the cold metal door, breathing hard. The adrenaline is fading, replaced by a cold, sharp fear. He looks at his gleaming gold watch. Only 2 minutes have passed. It feels like an eternity. He starts to pace, a frantic, caged energy. 3 steps from the door to the wall. Turn. 3 steps back to the door. His expensive white sneakers squeak on the grimy floor. This small box is now his entire world. He searches his pockets for his phone, a desperate, reflexive action. They are empty. His wallet, his keys, his phone, all gone. He is completely disconnected, powerless. A wave of genuine panic tightens his chest. He finally looks at the metal bench. It is covered in scratches, names, and crude drawings. He thinks about who else has sat here. He refuses to sit, seeing it as a sign of defeat. He continues to pace, his anger dissolving into anxiety. Back in the courtroom, life goes on. Judge Caprio is hearing the next case. A young woman is tearfully explaining why she couldn't pay her parking ticket. The judge listens patiently, his voice kind. He is helping her set up a $10 a week payment plan. 15 minutes have passed in the holding cell. Landon's pacing has slowed. His anger is gone, replaced by a hollow feeling. He can hear the faint, muffled sounds of the courtroom. The normal world is operating just feet away, but he cannot reach it. He finally gives in and sits on the edge of the cold bench. He puts his head in his hands. The bright red hoodie, once a symbol of his carefree status, now feels like a prison uniform. He feels the grit from the bench on his hands. He feels utterly humiliated. He thinks about his father. He had always used his father's name as a shield. It was a magic word that solved every problem. He said it to the judge, expecting the same result, and the judge locked him up. He realized the judge wasn't angry. The judge wasn't intimidated. The judge was just disappointed. That realization stings more than any punishment. He had acted like a spoiled child, and the world finally treated him like one. 25 minutes in, he is just sitting, staring at a crack in the floor. He is no longer angry, no longer scared. He is just tired. He wonders what will happen when he goes back out there. He hears the sound of footsteps in the hallway. They are slow, measured, and deliberate.
Landon straightens up, his heart pounding. He quickly tries to smooth his hair, to fix his hoodie. He wants to look like it didn't affect him. The sound of the key scraping in the lock is shockingly loud. The lock mechanisms disengage with a heavy thud. The door swings open. Officer Torres stands in the doorway, his expression identical. "Time's up, Mr. Hale." Landon stands, his legs stiff. He walks out of the cell, blinking at the hallway lights. He doesn't say a word. There's no swagger, no smirk. He just follows the officer, his eyes on the floor. The officer pushes open the courtroom door. The room goes silent as every person turns to look. They see the boy who was dragged out in handcuffs. They see him return, quiet and visibly shaken. Landon can feel the weight of their judgment. He is directed back to the defendant's table. Judge Caprio pauses the case he was hearing. He looks at Landon, his eyes patient and searching. "Now then, Mr. Hale, we still have the matter of your multiple traffic violations to discuss."
Landon stands at the defendant's table. His hands are clasped behind his back, a ghost of the handcuffs. His eyes are fixed on the dark wood grain of the table. The entire courtroom is watching him, waiting. He looks smaller, the bright red hoodie now looking absurd. Judge Caprio puts his glasses back on. He shuffles the papers in Landon's file. "Mr. Hale, before we were interrupted, we were discussing your violations." The judge's voice is neutral, without a trace of anger or triumph. It is simply the voice of the law, proceeding. Landon's throat is dry. He clears it quietly, the sound barely audible. "Yes, Your Honor," he says. The title of respect slips out, surprising even himself. It is the first time he has ever said it in his life. A ripple of surprise moves through the courtroom audience. Officer Torres remains impassive, but his posture relaxes slightly. Judge Caprio gives a small, affirming nod. He has seen this transformation before. "Your record is concerning," the judge states. "These are not just numbers on a page, son. Running a red light is an act of extreme negligence. You could have hurt someone. You could have killed someone." Landon flinches, the words hitting him differently now. He is no longer just hearing about fines. He is hearing about consequences. The total fines for these violations come to $950. Landon doesn't reach for his wallet. He doesn't scoff or make a sound. He just stands and listens. The pile of cash he threw on the table is still there, untouched. "And then," the judge says, his voice softer, "there is the matter of your conduct." Landon's head bows lower. "What you said to this court was appalling. You disrespected the institution, you disrespected the officers, and you disrespected yourself." Each word lands like a physical weight. "I don't believe you are a bad person, Mr. Hale. I believe you are a young man who has never been told no. I believe you've been protected by a name and by money for your entire life." Landon squeezes his eyes shut for a brief second. The judge is dismantling him, piece by piece, with the simple truth. In this room, that protection does not exist. Here, you are the same as the nervous mother who was here before you. You are the same as the gentleman waiting to dispute his parking ticket. You are simply a citizen, accountable to the law. Landon slowly nods, understanding. There is a long, heavy silence. The judge lets the lesson settle. He is not just passing a sentence, he is trying to save a life. Landon finally looks up. His eyes meet the judge's and the arrogance is gone. "Your Honor," Landon begins, his voice shaky but clear. I am sorry. I have no excuse for my behavior. What I said was, it was unforgivable." He is speaking to the judge, but also to the room. "I was arrogant, and I was disrespectful. Those 30 minutes, I realized," he trails off, unable to properly articulate the shame. "I am ready to accept my punishment." He stands straight, awaiting his sentence. Judge Caprio studies him. He sees the genuine remorse, the terror, the education. "Very well, Mr. Hale. For the contempt charge, you have served your 30 minutes. The fine of $500 is still due. For the traffic violations, the fine is $950. That is a total of $1,450. Landon nods, accepting it. "But we are not going to do that," the judge says, surprising everyone. Landon looks up, confused. "You have that pile of cash on your table," Judge Caprio gestures. "But that money is meaningless here.
A fine would punish your father, not you. I am going to void the fines. Landon's jaw drops. Instead, the judge says, his voice softer, I am sentencing you to 50 hours of community service. You will spend those hours at the local food bank. You will stock shelves, and you will hand out food to people who have nothing. You will learn what real life looks like for people who can't buy their way out. The sentence is more profound than any fine. Do you understand me, Mr. Hale? Landon nods vigorously, a sense of relief and dread mixing. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor. He is grateful. He was expecting a war and he received a lesson. Take that money you threw on the table, the judge instructs. I want you to walk to the clerk's office, and I want you to pay the fine for the woman who was here before you, the one with the $10 payment plan. Landon quickly gathers the cash, his hands fumbling. That is your first act as a member of this community. The rest of your case is dismissed pending completion of your service. You are free to go. Landon stands there for a moment, stunned. Go on, son, the judge prods gently. Landon turns, his face a mixture of shame and gratitude. He gives a respectful nod to the judge, then to Officer Torres. He walks out of the courtroom, not swaggering, but walking. He doesn't look back. The courtroom starts to murmur as Judge Caprio calls the next case.
Landon leaves the courthouse, his footsteps echoing in the marble hall. The bright afternoon sunlight makes him squint. The city sounds, the cars, the people talking, feel loud and abrasive. He stands on the steps for a full minute, just breathing. His bright red hoodie feels like a spotlight, and he pulls the hood up. He walks to the clerk's office, his sneakers silent on the floor. He approaches the window, holding the wad of cash. The clerk looks up, her expression tired. I'd like to pay the fine for the woman before me, the one with the payment plan. The clerk's eyebrows raise in surprise. She types into her computer. That was Mrs. Babel. The fine is $120. Landon peels off $200 bills. Just pay it all, please, he mutters, sliding the money under the glass. Keep the change for whatever. The clerk prints a receipt and hands it to him. You did a good thing, son, she says, her voice a little softer. Landon just nods, unable to meet her eyes. He pockets the receipt and walks away, feeling strange. It wasn't a transaction, it was something else. He uses his phone to find the address for the food bank. It's 2 miles away, on the other side of town. He reflexively thinks to call a rideshare. He stops, his thumb hovering over the app. The judge's words about real life echo in his head. He puts the phone back in his pocket. He adjusts his hood and starts walking. The neighborhoods change block by block. Polished storefronts give way to laundromats and corner stores. He feels exposed, out of place, and deeply self-conscious. After 40 minutes, he arrives at a simple low brick building. A line of people, 20 deep, snakes out the front door. They are old, young, mothers with children, men in worn-out work boots. They are all waiting patiently. Landon's stomach tightens with a feeling he can't name. He walks past the line, avoiding eye contact, and goes to a side door marked volunteers. He knocks, and the door is opened by a small, energetic woman in her 60s. Can I help you? She asks with a warm smile. I'm here for community service, Landon says, the words tasting like ash. Judge Caprio sent me. The woman's smile doesn't falter. One of the judge's boys. We love him. I'm Maria. Come in. We're stocking the pantry. She hands him a simple blue apron. Put this on and wash your hands. You're on cans. The apron is wrinkled and smells like soap. He ties it awkwardly around his designer hoodie. The irony is suffocating. He washes his hands in a deep industrial sink. The back room is a hive of activity. People sorting boxes, laughing. Maria points him to a mountain of dented, unlabeled cans. These were donated from a factory. They're all mixed. Your job is to sort them. Beans, corn, soup, and fruit. Stack them on these shelves here. Mind the labels. It seems simple, a mind-numbingly boring task. Landon picks up the first can, creamed corn. He places it on the corn shelf. He picks up another,
black beans. He starts to build a rhythm, his hands moving automatically. Can after can, the pile shrinks and the shelves fill. An hour passes. His back hurts from bending. His hands are grimy from dust and label glue. He's sweating under the hoodie. He realizes he hasn't thought about his phone once. "Hey, new guy." Landon turns. A young woman, about his age, is standing there. She has a sharp, tired face and is wearing the same blue apron. "You're stacking the fruit cans too high. They'll fall." Landon looks at the shelf. She's right. "Oh, sorry," he says, moving to fix it. "You're one of Caprio's, aren't you?" she asks, not unkindly. "Yeah," Landon admits, feeling the shame rise again. "What'd you do?" "Mouth off?" she asks with a small smile. Landon is stunned. "How did you know?" She have that look, that "my dad will fix it" look. I had it too a year ago. She turns and starts sorting boxes with practiced speed. Landon stares, completely thrown off balance. "Wait, you? Judge Caprio sent you here." "Yep," she replies, not looking at me. 50 hours just like you, I bet." "I did my 50 and I just never left." "I'm Sarah," she says, finally looking at me. "I'm Landon." They work in silence for a few minutes. Landon is processing this. This normal-looking girl was him. She had the same attitude, the same look. He is not the only one. Suddenly, a crash comes from the front room. Maria cries out, "Oh no, the rice!" A 50-pound bag of rice has split open, pouring a white sea across the floor. The people in line all groan, a sound of collective disappointment. That bag was meant for 20 families. Before Landon can even react, Sarah is moving. "Get the dustpans, get more bags," she yells. Maria looks devastated, on the verge of tears. Landon stands frozen, watching the crisis unfold. This is no longer about him. This is about a room full of hungry people.
Landon watches the white grains of rice spread across the floor. An elderly woman in line puts her hand to her mouth. "That was all we had," Maria whispers, her voice breaking. The disappointment in the room is a physical, heavy thing. This is not a spilled drink. It is a catastrophe. Sarah is already on her knees with a dustpan, but it's hopeless. The floor is dirty, and the rice is mixing with grime. "We can't use it," Sarah says, frustrated. "It's contaminated." Landon looks at the people in line, at their tired, hungry faces. He sees the woman from the courthouse, Mrs. Gable, standing near the back. Her eyes meet his and she gives a small, sad smile. She has no idea who he is or that her fine is paid. She is just another person waiting for food that is now on the floor. Something inside Landon snaps. It's not anger, it's a cold, sharp clarity. He rips off the blue apron. "I'll be right back," he says, his voice firm. Maria looks up, confused. "Where are you going?" "Don't clean that up," he orders, surprising himself with the authority. He pushes through the side door and sprints onto the street. He runs, his expensive sneakers pounding the pavement. He doesn't know the area, but he saw a small grocery store 6 blocks back. He dodges pedestrians, ignoring their annoyed shouts. He is no longer a rich boy or a defendant. He is just a man on a mission. He burst into the corner store, breathing hard. The owner, an older man, looks up, startled. "I need rice," Landon gasps. "All of it." "What?" "All your rice. Now, 50-pound bags if you have them." The owner points to the back aisle. "We have 4 large bags." Landon sprints to the aisle and grabs 2 of the 50-pound bags. He heaves them over his shoulders, staggering under the weight. This is 100 pounds, more than he has ever lifted. "How much?" he pants, running to the counter. $180, the owner says, eyes wide. Landon throws his wallet on the counter. "Take it," he says. "Take 200. He doesn't wait for change. He grabs the 2 bags and muscles them out the door. He is now running back, a 50-pound bag on each shoulder. His muscles are screaming. His lungs are on fire. The hoodie is drenched in sweat. He refuses to stop. He thinks of the look on Maria's face. He stumbles back into the food bank, kicking the door open. He drops the 2 massive bags on the floor with a thud that shakes the room. The entire line of people gasps. Maria and Sarah stare, their mouths open. Landon leans against the wall, chest heaving. "I'm going back," he says, breathing hard. "There are 2 more. "Son, you don't have to do that," Maria starts, her eyes filling with tears. "Yes," Landon says, "I do." He turns and sprints back out the door. He leaves his wallet, his phone, and his old self behind. The second trip is pure agony. His arms feel like lead, and his legs are shaking. He hauls the next 2 bags out of the store. The owner simply nods, a new respect in his eyes. He carries them, 1 step at a time, down the broken sidewalk. He collapses back into the food bank, dropping the final 2 bags. 200 pounds of rice. The room is in stunned silence. Landon slides down the wall, completely spent, and sits on the floor. He is covered in sweat, dirt, and rice flour. Slowly, one person in the line starts to clap, then another. Soon the entire room, the volunteers, the people in line, Mrs. Gable, is applauding. It's not a loud ovation, but a deep, respectful applause. Landon hides his face in his hands, completely overwhelmed. Maria walks over and places a hand on his shoulder. He looks up and her eyes are shining with tears. "Thank you, Landon," she says simply. Stara stands nearby, a genuine broad smile on her face. "Not bad, rich boy," she winks. "Not bad at all." Landon stays for another 3 hours. He doesn't just sort cans, he helps Maria bag the new rice. He carries heavy boxes of groceries out to people's cars. He looks every person in the eye and says, "Have a good day." At the end of the day, the food bank is empty. He helps Maria lock the front door. "I'll see you tomorrow, Landon," she says. "Tomorrow? You're 50 hours, remember? You've only done 4. Landon looks at his dirt-stained hands. He thinks of the courtroom, the cell, the judge. He thinks of the applause. "Right," Landon says, and for the first time, he means it. "I'll be here at 9, Maria." He walks out into the cool evening air. His designer hoodie is ruined, stained with sweat and grime. He pulls it off, tying it around his waist. He feels exhausted, but he also feels clean. He starts the 2-mile walk home, his pace steady. He passes the courthouse, now dark and silent. He stops and looks up at the building. It's no longer a place of judgment, but a place of education. Landon Hale walked in that morning arrogant and rich. He walks away from it a man who understands his 30-minute education just beginning.
The 50 hours of community service stretched into 60, then 70. Landon became a fixture at the food bank, arriving before Maria. He learned the names of the regulars. He learned how to comfort a mother who was turned away when the bread ran out. The bright red hoodie was replaced by a simple blue t-shirt and worn-out jeans. He and Sarah developed a fast, unspoken rhythm. They unloaded trucks, sorted vegetables, and shared quiet jokes. He saw her as a peer, not as a project. She no longer called him rich boy. She just called him Landon. On his official last day, Maria hugged him tightly. "You are a good man, Landon Hale," she said. "You are always welcome in this house." Landon found he was unable to speak. He just nodded, his throat tight with an emotion he'd never felt before, pride. He walked away from the food bank for the last time. He had paid his debt to the court, but he felt like he was the one who had received the gift. The world looked different, slower, more fragile. He went home, but he did not go back to his old life. His father found him a week later, packing a duffel bag. He had argued, he had yelled, he had threatened. "I'm cutting you off," his father finally roared. He just looked at him, his eyes calm. "You already did, Dad," he replied, and walked out the door. He moved into a small apartment above a pizzeria. He sold his gold watch, his car, and his designer clothes. The money from the sale, tens of thousands of dollars, was wired to an account. He sent a single, anonymous cashier's check to the Providence Community Food Bank. It was enough to cover their rice budget for 3 years. 6 months passed. The snow of winter had melted into a bright, cool spring. Judge Caprio followed his daily routine. He left his home, walked 6 blocks, and entered a small local coffee shop. The same faces, the same quiet morning murmur. He approached the counter, ready to give his usual order. A new employee stood at the register, his back turned. The man was wiping down the espresso machine with practiced skill. He was wearing a simple black apron. "I'll be right with you," the employee said, turning around. Judge Caprio froze. The man behind the counter was Landon Hale. Landon's eyes widened in recognition. The smirk was gone, replaced by a warm, respectful smile. "Good morning, Your Honor." The judge was, for a moment, speechless.
"Mr. Hale," he finally said, his voice full of surprise. What are you doing here?" "My morning shift," Landon replied simply. "I'm the assistant manager." "The usual?" Landon asked. "Small black coffee?" "Yes, thank you," the judge said, his mind reeling. Landon prepared the coffee with care. He placed it on the counter, his hands steady. "That'll be $2. Judge Caprio pulled a $5 bill from his wallet. Landon took it and entered it into the register. He handed the judge his $3 in change. It was a simple, normal, profound transaction. A transaction between two men. "You look well, son," the judge said, taking the coffee. "I feel well, sir," Landon replied. I'm also taking night classes at the community college." "Business management." The judge's smile was genuine and deep. "I hear the food bank is doing very well," the judge said, probing gently. "They got a large anonymous donation a while back." Landon just smiled and wiped the counter. "I heard that too," he said. "It's a special place." The two men stood in silence for a moment. The judge, the powerful man in the robe, the young man, the powerful man in the apron. All the labels from that day in court had been washed away. Only respect remained. "Well," Judge Caprio said, "I have a court to run." "Of course," Landon said. "Have a good day, Judge." The judge turned to leave. "Oh, and Mr. Hale," he said, pausing at the door. Landon looked up. "Your father called my office, you know." Landon's smile tightened. "I'm sure he did." "He called to thank me," the judge said. Landon's expression faltered, shocked. He said, "You gave me my son back." Landon stared, unable to process the words. The judge nodded, his eyes kind. He said, "It seems that 30-minute education was for the whole family." He lifted his coffee cup in a small toast, and then he was gone. Landon stood behind the counter, the bell on the door tinkling. He let the words settle over him. He thought of his father, the cell, the food bank, the judge. He thought about the price of arrogance, and he learned the value of humility. A new customer walked in, breaking the silence. "Good morning. Welcome," Landon said, his voice clear and confident. He was no longer the rich boy. He was just Landon, and for the first time in his life, that was more than enough.